is up? M.E. show. I'm one half.
Hey y'all, it's me, Michelle. How y'all doing?
We live today.
We love a business piece. Hey.
It's been a minute. People are like, hey man, y'all still going live? Yes. Yes, we are. Just been doing some traveling.
You know,
been
living
on the
our
road,
life.
hitting up the down south. People still say that Maryland, because it's south of the Mason-Dixon line, is still part of the South, but the culture's just
It
different.
is the South. I've tried to tell you, we are a southern state. We are the most northern southern state because the Mason-Dixon line is what separates us from Pennsylvania.
That's ridiculous.
I know that y'all southerners like to believe that we ain't a part of the South, but yes, we are. Okay.
So for those of y'all that aren't new, welcome to the King and Me show. If you are new, the King and Me show is a live stream in which, oh my goodness, Michelle, keep talking. Tell people what the King and Me show is about while I troubleshoot.
The King and Me show. So we are a couple and we come together on Mondays so that we can share our experiences with you all and talk to you all about, outlooks on a healthy and a real relationship. So that's what we do. We provide outlooks for a healthy relationship and we make it real. And real stands for something.
It means relatable,
entertaining,
accountable,
and loving.
And look, that's our moniker, but we also believe in those 4 pillars. We believe that if you're able to be relatable, entertaining within your relationship, accountable to each other, and loving to each other, that you've got the recipe for a successful relationship. Mm-hmm. Now, we're streaming on multiple platforms. We're on ours, on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. But you can also find us on Perry Production, who is living it up right now.
I saw them videos, right?
Hanging out with Chance the Rapper and some clients and stuff overseas, doing it big. So we do appreciate him for allowing us to share our live stream on his platform. So salute to Perry Productions over there.
Thank you, sir.
Now, Michelle.
What's up?
We do this thing where we go over questions from Let's Get Deep because we believe that communication is a centerpiece to a healthy relationship. Good communication is one of the centerpieces to a health. Can you have more than one centerpiece, or is a centerpiece the centerpiece?
It's one.
Okay, then it is one of the pillars as well.
Or cornerstones. You could do cornerstones. So it's one of the cornerstones or one of the building blocks of a successful relationship, because then it can be multiple.
There we go. I like that instead. So in the link to the description we have is Let's Get Deep. We know that Tarika has bought this and has tried it out, albeit unsuccessfully. But we believe that if you can show up with something like this and somebody's receptive to it, then you might have somebody that's fun right there. And if you're looking for fun in a relationship, then hey, that could be something that matches you. If somebody's too serious, but you're not a person that's seeking too serious, then that person's not the match for you.
So to be clear, he means fun as in entertaining, not fun as in like fun times. He means fun. If you have someone who is easygoing and down for a laugh, then this is definitely something for you.
So there's 3 questions that are going to get pulled out of this, and then we're going to flip our calendar and get into tonight's live stream. What you got for the icebreaker?
Are you always early or always late?
Oh, I'm late. I'm late. CP time was invented after me. So, and everybody that knows that, don't expect me on time. If I'm presenting something or if I'm doing something, then I'll be on time. Otherwise, I'm the type of person that I'll get there when I get there. Your last name is indicative of how you are.
So first of all, I just want to throw out there, to 90% of the things that I attend, I am always early. Always early. I get to work 75 minutes early. Like, that's how early I always am. But if it's a social engagement, I'm late. Intentionally.
Tarika says she's early.
As you should be. To be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late, and to be late is not acceptable. But next question. What has been your worst experience with a roommate?
Man.
That you can say in like a minute.
Okay. If you can think of yours, bring yours up, because I'm gonna have to pinpoint what I'd like, because I haven't really had a. I don't think I've had a bad experience with the. I've had a bad experience with the landlord.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've had a bad experience with a roommate. But maybe as you're talking, something might.
I've never had a roommate.
Okay.
I lived on campus my freshman and sophomore year of
Mm-hmm.
college, but my roommate was my best friend, and we got along fine. The other people in the suite may not have liked me, but they weren't my roommates. They were my suite mates.
Oh yeah, y'all were friends going into college, so y'all already knew each other.
Yeah.
I mean, back in my military days, shout out to the homie George. George was one of the best roommates that I could have ever asked for. And even when I moved off base, with a guy that I was pretty cool with. We were total opposites, but we were cool with each other. Then I got married. Then after that, I've only had one other roommate. So I was cool with everybody. I don't have a bad roommate experience.
Me neither. So then with Deeper, what's something you wish you had done when given the opportunity but didn't?
What's something went to the Air Force Academy?
Speaking of marriage.
So I had the opportunity to go and play for the Air Force Academy in football, and I turned it down to get married. Speaking of regrets, which is today's episode, if I have one,
we'll come back to it.
I'm gonna tease it a little bit. That might be on the list. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna tease it a little bit.
That ain't a tease.
How about yours?
One thing I wish I could have done, I would have academically redone my first 2 years of college.
Okay.
Like, if that makes sense. Like, I partied my first 2 years of college, hence why I had to make them up at the end. So I would have redone that. Would have been more scholarly.
Cool.
Bought a textbook. Something.
How about anybody watching out there? Do you have anything that you wish that you could have done differently? Let us know. Put it in the comment section. All right, look, life's about living. I sure enough haven't lived this thing perfect, but I'm definitely living this joker.
Yeah, I lived it up freshman and sophomore year of college, hence why. But nah, we gonna leave it there because I know my students watch this, so that's a whole nother thing.
Okay.
Yes.
I will give you the honor. You are the official calendar flipper, and there's always something behind the picture as well. So as we flip over into this new month of June, which is also today is National Simp Day. I don't know if you knew that.
Are you serious?
Yes.
There's a national day.
It is National Simp Day, which is hilarious to me.
The fact that they need a day is absolutely ridiculous.
I can't stand a simp. Now, simps, for people out there that are like, what is a simp? I think if you ask different people, they'll tell you different things. But before I get into that, Michelle is showing our June picture. And what's the story behind the June picture, Michelle?
So June of 2023, we went to go see Transformers. We went to go see Transformers, and we were at Regal because we saw it in 4D.
Yeah.
And I sat on those chairs and giggled the whole entire time. Like, as it bounced and moved around and everything, I was just laughing and giggling. So that was us a year ago in June sometime.
All right. Now, I was talking about Simp Day.
Simp Day.
And people are like, well, King, what's a simp? In my opinion,
in your opinion,
there's an acronym that can be said where it's like something. Oh man, I forget what the acronym stands for that I heard and cracked up about. But it's simping is people don't say ladies simp over men. they say men simp over women. And it's when you put somebody on a pedestal, essentially, for no reason other than you're putting them on a pedestal in hopes that they like give you attention or look your direction. And I will never understand why people do that. That's never been a thing that I've cracked the code on. Because if I could eliminate simping altogether in that definition, I would do everything within my powers to eliminate it. Because I think people get overinflated when they think that their value is worth more than it is. And that's tricky.
But
that's tricky.
So here's my counter to that. While you don't typically hear about women simping over men, you only hear about men simping over women. It's because I feel like a man created that term. Like, a woman's not going to call it that. A woman who does the same exact actions that you just described is a woman taking care of her man. Like, that's what that is. It's not defined as simping. It's a woman taking care of her man. Whereas some man saw some man doing something towards another woman and was like, oh, he a simp. Like, that's what we just gonna call him. But I think that's why you don't hear it from about a woman, or how a woman treats a man, because a woman treating a man like that is a woman taking care of her man.
Interesting.
Because give me the definition, like just the definition of simp. Give it to me again.
It's when a man puts a lady on a pedestal for no reason.
And see, when a woman does that, it's called taking care of her man. It's called taking care of her man.
What do y'all think? Because I hear that, and like logically, because if you can speak the logic, I can rock with it. And logically, that makes sense. But I'm going to have to stew on that one for a bit.
Of course you want to do it. But no, seriously, that's what it is. A woman who takes care of her man is not known as a simp, but a man who takes care of his woman will be called a simp by other men. Like, no woman is going to call a man a simp. No heterosexual woman is going to call a man a simp.
Yeah, because they're going to get benefits.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what you said, you don't hear that term from a woman to a man. Yes. And that's why. That the term simp, I am so sure, is a term that was created by men to describe how men treat women. But you won't hear that term from women to man, because a woman doing that to her man is a woman taking care of her man.
Okay. All right. I want to acknowledge the chat because people are coming in here.
People are chatting.
Heavy. Shout out to Tarika. Came in the building. She was like, look, I ain't seen y'all live in like half a month. What's going on, King? I said, we're going to be live. We're going to be live. I think we have a live every Monday in June, right?
Yeah, we do.
But July going to be...
July a little fishy.
July going to be a little bit finicky. Shout out to Blaze. Blaze is in the building. Said, peace and abundance, King. Michelle, Mont, and the chat. Hope all is well this evening. I'll be listening, but I'll be in and out. Hey, we appreciate that.
You. Yes,
we appreciate anybody that come in, whether you come in for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or a minute. Be like, this ain't my thing. We still appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Just hit the like button too, please.
Just hit the like button on your way in and out. And then Tarika and Blaze are talking back and forth to each other. I like it. He said Simp Day. Yes, look it up. June 3rd, National Simp Day.
Oh man, y'all just be looking for national holidays. Did your coworker send that to you? That's how you know.
No.
See, your coworker been slipping on these national holidays.
I've known about it though for 2 years because I did a live stream on it. That's how I know. And then it was talked about on this guy follow Coach Greg Adams. It was also on his YouTube channel. He was like, I'm the first to bring this up. And I'm like, nah, I talked about it 2 years ago. No, maybe 3 years ago, 2020. I talked about it in 2020. So that'd be 4 years ago. Whew. Time flies.
Mm-hmm.
Man, all right. So today's topic, regrets, dating, relationships, and life. And all of that's kind of intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the idea from this topic stemmed from a TikTok video that we saw that I wanted to bring up so that we can play it and download it and have a discussion around it. But I couldn't bring it up. So we're just going to jump right into it. Do you remember what inspired you about that video to send it to me for us to then come on our live stream and talk about it?
Sure. So it was this woman on TikTok, and she has I don't curse, but she had a big old rose tattooed on her face. And the title was them what regrets do you have in life or something like that. And in the video, she can be seen applying foundation and makeup to cover up the big old rose tattoo that she had on the side of her face. And as I'm looking at that, I'm just like, oh, I am so sure that when it comes to dating and relationships, we have many regrets, things that we wish we hadn't done, but we did for whatever reason. So we have all these regrets, and I just kind of wanted to bring them up. Now, I'm going to be honest and say that while I'm using the term regrets because that's what was used in the video, I don't necessarily have regrets per se. I have learning experiences.
Same.
So I learned from them. Regrets in relationships, that level of alliteration sounded better than learning opportunities that have come from relationships. The title just sounded better. So
it did. And also, too, to kind of piggyback on that, Michelle, I don't have regrets in relationships as well.
Mhm.
Yet, if you open up your ear, now I don't know how you are with your friends and how y'all talk about relationships and things like that, but I've got a mix of married friends and friends that are dating and friends that are like, I'm not dating, I'm just going to get what I want when I want, and it is what it is.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I hear from men is that men, when they break up, they learn from the relationship. Women, the way I hear it, when they break up, when they talk about their past relationships, it's traumas. Oh, I got this trauma from that relationship. I got that trauma from, two relationships ago. It's like, how is it that every relationship you ended in some trauma? To stop myself from cussing right there. Whereas when guys talk about a relationship ending, they're like, hey, it didn't work out, but got lived and learned. That's just observationally what I've been hearing.
That is so extremely biased and one-sided.
Okay.
Because the reality is you get both from relationships. And the reason why I say that is because men will get out of a relationship, whatever happened, they will come out of a relationship and they will treat the next woman according to whatever happened in that previous relationship. You carry that baggage from one relationship to the next, and that's trauma.
No.
Yes.
That is learning.
It's learning from trauma. And that's exactly what women do. The thing is, we just may glorify the trauma a little bit better. It's still learning. Both aspects are still learning, but both aspects are also still trauma.
That makes no sense to me.
You learn from
To
trauma.
Me. It might make sense to others. That don't make sense to me.
So if I am walking down a dark alley and God forbid something happens to me, that's trauma, right? Like
Yes.
that is a traumatic experience. But what did I learn from that? Not to walk my behind down a dark alley. You learn from trauma.
Okay, well then what happens to the people that they come from one abusive relationship and they go into another abusive relationship? Did they not learn?
That doesn't mean that they didn't learn. They took some things away. However, there's a level of something that has to happen in between relationships that some people, regardless of gender, don't do. You need to take time to heal from one relationship before you move on to another. Because in that healing time, you're able to process lessons. You're able to address traumas that may exist, address triggers that could come up in future relationships, and then be able to spot warning signs. When people move from one abusive relationship to another, and this is not me putting on any psychiatrist, psychologist hat, or therapist hat, or anything like that, but typically, and this is me coming from personal experience, when people move from one traumatic relationship to another, or one level of abusive relationship to another, is because they looked past warning signs that were being shown in both the relationships. And there was no healing in between. So you get trauma and you get a learning experience from every relationship. Men just may only highlight the learning aspect, whereas women may only highlight the trauma aspect, but you get both. You get both.
Interesting. All right, let me read this here Blaze
I ain't got no
said,
glasses
I mean,
on.
you're free to make your own decisions, including getting giant face tattoos, but just understand and fully accept everything that comes with whatever decision you make.
Exactly. So that's where the accountability comes in, Blaze. Thank you. Make the decisions that you feel are best in the moment. However, be willing to live with the consequences that may come with it as well. And take accountability.
True that. Super C's in the building. Just wanted to
Hey.
say what up to the homie as well. He you know what? I love his support because he'll pop in. He may not, stay the entire time, but he will pop in and he'll hit the like button. And that's about all that I could ask for. So I appreciate you, Super C. And we be talking about some stuff in our chat. If that ever got leaked, whoo-wee. I might have to be finding a whole new job here. But anyway, we've talked about this in the past. You have exes that watch our live stream or have in some capacity watch some of the clips that we might have put out. Were you nervous about having this episode? Because for the most part, this episode's personal.
No, I don't care.
Same here. And I have people in my relationship past, not just my ex-wife, that watches our live streams. And one of them I didn't know. So if you're watching now, comment. All right. But, like I was kind of telling her about it. And she was like, I'm thinking about doing something similar to the person that I'm engaged to. So I said, oh, engaged. Well, that's a bomb drop. Congratulations. She's like, yeah, but I'm afraid of being judged. And I said, look, Michelle and I do this because I think we're built for it. But if at any point she said, hey, King, I don't want to do this anymore, then it'll just be the King show. I don't know what to say. But it's not an easy thing to do, to come on behind the camera and a microphone and be open. And we're hoping to be as transparent as possible. Now, I am going to call us out on something. We did not go live last Monday, but I did want to bring something up, and you made the suggestion of not bringing it up because it didn't want to seem like having two negatives back to back.
Yeah, like I didn't want our road trip to be perceived as like two negative experiences back to back. So that's why I didn't want, because we weren't live both of those episodes. And I feel like it would have been a bigger discussion than a pre-recorded episode should have handled.
Really? If it were live, would you have felt that way too?
No, we could have talked about it live. It's just the first one, the first pre-recorded. You know what? I'm gonna call the spade a spade. That first pre-recorded one that we did when we were driving down from New England, I thought you were going to edit it. Because my little outburst at the end with the traffic, definitely thought you were going to edit that out, or like, or edit in like some hilarity in there. No. And I feel like I looked a little bit less than sane in that moment.
Oh, really? I'm sorry, babe.
So it's okay. So that's why I was like, yeah, I don't want 2 weeks of us back to back talking about like negative stuff on a non-live capacity.
Okay, yep, my bad. I
didn't think it was. I should have said something. I thought you were just going to edit. Like I assumed that that's what you were doing before you went to sleep. That you were just going to edit and like make it fun and stuff like that. No, that was my bad. That's what I assumed you were doing.
Okay, all right. I did not think about it, but I was like, in just talking, actually, I was like, was that authentic?
I just didn't want us to do it pre-recorded again, because the fact is we had recorded the one 2 weeks ago. We had recorded 2 takes because the rawness of the initial conversation was a long conversation. Mm-hmm. And then I remember then we had to go and default to doing the second one. I didn't want us to have to do that again. So I was just like, let's skip having this on a pre-recorded thing.
Bet. Now, to the person that might be watching, look, if you're not going to be authentic, people can see that. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And it also depends on what you're trying to do. Like, we're showcasing our relationship. And one of the nice positive things that I hear pretty often, I don't know if you hear it from people that talk to you about our live streams, is that it's nice to know that there's sane people out there, people that can have people that are opposite gender who can have a communication and be in a relationship, and it's not all stress, it's not doom and gloom, but we're being open.
Did you hear what I said on my live earlier?
Yes.
So one of my colleagues saw our picture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if it was the Pop Shop picture or like whatever picture I had posted before then. And she said that she could see the love that exists between the two of us in just the picture. And
I laughed.
Of course. I have a student who she and her mom follow and watch our content. And last week, was it last week or the week before that? I think it was the week before that when we were coming back from New England. When she saw me in school on that Monday, she was like, "Oh, so what are you all talking about on your show tonight?" I was like, "It's pre-recorded because I had something that I had to do." So I was like, "It's pre-recorded," and like she noticeably looked disappointed that it was a pre-recorded episode and not live. So we do have people who tune in and they want to hear, because it is nice to have a non-married couple doing it, because typically if you see these conversations happening, it is typically coming from a married couple.
Mhm.
So we can think of the Better Than Perfect podcast. We can think of That Chick Angel and her husband. I don't know what the name of their show is called. Like, I know his name. His name is Marcus Tanksley.
Think it's This Could Cause an Argument.
Okay, This Could Cause an Argument. So those two podcasts, like, most of the couples that do this, they're married couples who are doing it. So it is nice to hear from a couple who is not married and hear their perspective. But we got to get into this week's topic. Like, we got to get into it. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So my question for you and anyone who is listening, what's one relationship decision you wish you could take back and why?
What's one relationship decision I wish I could take back and why?
Oh, we both leaned down to look at
Hold up. There we go. Almost had the battery cut off on us. Oh, man. So I'm thinking about all of my past relationships. One of the obvious ones, and this is a cheap one to me, but I was married. You don't get married to get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
I could say top of that list of that question would be I wouldn't have got married if I knew my marriage was going to end in divorce.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a cheap one, but it's also real.
It's a real thing. It is a very real thing. Like, no one does that with the anticipation. And I mean, some people flagrantly enter into marriages 45, but I'm just saying, like, some people enter into it because they're like truly thinking that this is going to be their life partner that they're about to spend, forever and a day with, forever and eternity with. So some people aren't planning for that. That's very, very true. All right, I like it.
What's yours?
Speaking of the fact that my exes tend to watch this, again, I don't have any regrets in life because I feel like everything, set me up and prepared me for a better place in life. I learned from it. I take learning experiences from it. Whew. Okay. The truth shall set you free. Words. Okay. My last relationship.
Okay.
I wish I hadn't gotten into it.
Totally?
Totally.
Why, if you don't mind sharing the why?
Sure, because it does say why. Why do I wish I hadn't gotten into that relationship? Because, and this is going to sound so selfish, I don't see what I learned in that relationship. If anything, if it weren't for healing, if it weren't for my relationship with my Lord and Savior, I feel like that relationship would have made me more resentful towards men because of things that happen. So like, I'm fine with talking about it. Number one thing that, and this isn't me talking about trauma. This is just me saying that if I could go back, I've learned from it that if I could go back, I wouldn't have entered that relationship. So number one, he was not ready for adulthood. Despite the fact that he was older than me, he wasn't ready for adulthood. So there were many things that he just saw differently. I remember, like, we were a COVID relationship, and I think most people, if they could go back in time, they would see some of the relationships they got into during COVID, and they wouldn't get into them again.
Several people have said that.
Exactly. So I think that I should have led with that. It was a COVID relationship. So we kind of got started like right before COVID. And then like COVID comes, everyone wants to hunker down with someone, whether physically or emotionally. It was a lot of hunkering down that was going on. So there's that. And then two, I don't know if I ever told you, but like he wanted to take a break during the summer. And I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, we're grown. You're 9 years older than me, and you want to take a break during, like, there are things I don't understand. And if in hindsight, I'm like, that should have been a sign that that relationship wasn't going to be fruitful in any way. And here I am looking back after all that time that has passed, and I'm just like, but what did I get from that relationship? Again, if it weren't for healing, if it weren't for my therapist, I think one of the things that I would have taken away from that relationship is that I can't trust any man. Because I remember one night he, like, there were several things, but I'm just going to talk about this one particular thing. There, he went out with his coworkers who didn't like me because they perceived me as an angry Black woman. And the reason why they perceived me as an angry Black woman is because they were Caucasian. And on a drunken night, they took his phone and started texting me obscenities and were like, why the F are you texting my man? I'm a Black woman from Baltimore whose family is Jamaican. You should never text me something like that and think that it's a good joke. It's not. So
It's disrespectful.
it's disrespectful, yes, but again, I'm a Black woman from Baltimore whose family's from Jamaica. You should never, ever, ever text me something like that. And I'll just leave that there. So his coworkers didn't like me for that. So one day I come over, it's Christmas 2021. Christmas Eve 2021. I come over, I'm coming from Baltimore. I needed to use the restroom. His only bathroom was upstairs. So I go upstairs to use the bathroom. He has no doors on his bedroom, and there's a woman laying in his bed, like knocked out, inebriated, knocked out. And he's like, oh, well, she just spent the night because she got drunk. Like, we all went out last night and she got drunk and she just fell asleep there. And I'm like, you don't think that's inappropriate? He's like, I slept on the couch. And I'm like, how do I know you slept on the couch? Right. And like the fact that he couldn't even perceive that he had done something wrong. There were so many signs throughout the course of the relationship that it was like, this is not like where you're supposed to be. So, one relationship regret or learn from experience is that I shouldn't have been in that relationship at all.
Okay. Now, very specific question, because when you and I first got together, one of the things that I think allowed us to at least explore some stuff very early on is when you make a decision to be with somebody, from my observation and one conversation that I've had, you're in. You're like, I'm committing to you, right? You're in. Were you like that in that relationship? Because I've spoke to the one prior to that, and I was able to kind of gather that from him. But in that one, were you the same way as well? Were you in it?
Yeah, I'm very much in it. I don't know how to do anything half-heartedly except apparently take a nap. But other than that, like I go all the way in. I'm fully committed to things that I do because I don't want to waste other people's time. So like that's a big thing for me. I don't want to waste other people's time.
Blaze said, I keep forgetting y'all ain't married.
Look.
All right. What's next? I'm glad that you got some.
I told you I was leading this. I had this.
All right.
I got this.
Let's go.
Got this. Looking back, do you feel like there were moments where you may have ignored red flags in a relationship?
Oh, 100%. All right. Now, this is tricky. I'm going to talk specifically because I was in a 14-year marriage. That is a long relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have some things that I saw red flags in her and me.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I can step out of myself and go, King, you was on some stupid stuff as well.
Yeah.
All right. And then after my divorce, I also had some instances where I was dating, and I'm not even going to call it dating. I should not have been dating, but there were some red flags that I ignored because I simply wanted to be with somebody. When I break it down, I just wanted to do whatever I needed to do to um, have company with that person. So I was ignoring the fact that I just saw her snap at the waiter when I'm real big on if you snap at the, but there's a reason for that. I'm big on that because I'm like, if you're going to snap at a waiter for something, you likely can't control your mouth around others when things could be escalated. I ignored somebody who, and I'm just going to say this, and this is,
I just laid out some hard truth about my past relationship. Come on, bring it.
I feel bad about saying this, but I'm gonna put a but and a caveat in this because I know she watches this too. Oh my goodness, mental health's a big thing.
Yeah.
And I dated somebody who told me before we got together what her mental health diagnoses were. I asked her about it because I didn't have an understanding, and we had a 6 month. It was more than a situationship, but it ended because, in my opinion, when she was on her meds, she was great. When she wasn't on her meds, she was the exact opposite of great. So if you are going to date somebody or marry someone that requires additional things to regulate their bodies, their hormones, whatever it is, like I don't speak medical, so I don't know how to say it with confidence. Make sure that they're taking the things or doing the things that they need to do to regulate themselves, because if they don't, it is going to be a whole roller coaster ride, and that's exactly what that was.
Okay.
So again, I'm not talking bad about the person. I'm talking more about the instance of, if you have a diagnosis and then you don't take your meds, it can be a nightmare.
Okay. I will say, for me, one of the greatest red flags that I tend to ignore is when someone puts in a whole bunch of effort to get me and then they don't maintain that same level of effort to keep me. That's something that I've ignored multiple times. Yes, sir.
Is that the same? Because you said we used to talk on the phone a lot often, and I don't like talking on the phone. I'm like, look, let's communicate what we need to communicate and then go.
I'm saying, though, you were wooing me back then. You just choose not to remember. No, that's not the same thing.
Okay. All right.
That's not the same thing.
I just want to be clear.
But I'm saying, like, we should go back to those late night falling asleep on the phone conversations.
No.
Come on. They were fun.
Why?
Because they were
Besides fun. No, there are a million other things that I could be doing.
Like, staying up on the phone. Like, we stayed up on the phone. You would fall asleep. I would eventually listen to you snoring. You would hear nothing on my end because I don't snore. And then, like, I'd wake up and I'd get dressed and, do all the things in the morning. And, like, I'd still be listening to you snoring on the other end. And then I would get to work and then I would sweetly and softly whisper, "Hey, King, I'm at work now." And then, like, I'd hang up. After, like, having, like, a soft prayer for you.
I can't believe I ever did that.
Oh, yeah, you did.
No. You did. Does that sound appealing to any man? Y'all let me know.
All right, so what I mean by that is, I'm going to target the last relationship. He knew me for 7 years before we got together. And pursued me for 7 years. Pursued me harder in 7 years than he did in the 2 that we were together. Like, there was a greater, more conscious effort. Like, so he would see my line sisters, right? One specific line sister, but technically any of them. He would see my line sisters and be like, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing? So how's Shell doing?" Like, would always ask about me. Would always make a beeline to me whenever he saw me at a social event. But then the whole time that he had me, made, like, no real attempts to keep me. None whatsoever.
Let's see. I'm going to read this comment here real quick while you set us up for the next one. Blaze said, in my early 20s, I was in a relationship with a woman who was a little older, only by 3 years. But ego and taking advice from my single homeboys blew up something good with a good woman. Okay. So I was trying to find something to play as well around this for our live stream, but I wasn't able to get it in time enough. But that was one of the things that I wanted to, that I'm gonna see if we get to as well. Was there ever a time you were with somebody and you realized that outside influences is what messed it up? So Blaze, thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah, thank you.
It says, I have an old soul and I don't mind talking on the phone. It's still effort. Hey, if I got everything done, yes. But also, okay, I want to, I also want to make sure that you understand that you have my attention. So I can't understand why I did that initially. I don't have an answer for that.
Because we would fall asleep together on the phone. Like, we would finish whatever we had to say, and then we would just fall asleep. Like, there was literally, it's not that one person was talking and the other person was sleeping. We would both fall asleep. You helped soothe me off to La La Land.
My snoring helped soothe you out to La La Land?
Your snoring doesn't bother me.
I like that. That's dope. I really mean that. I think that's cool. Because, like, we make jokes all the time about stuff that I could do that would run you away. Yes, we ain't going to say it on these public airways, but you said one earlier today, and I think you know what it is that I'm talking about. So, all right. What you got for me next?
I like that question. Statement that Blaze just said. So I'm gonna pivot with that. Have you ever, because I know you got into a relationship based on what someone has said, but have you ever gotten out of a relationship because of other people's opinions?
Yes, sort of. Take that with a twist. I didn't pursue a relationship because when I showed her pictures to the homies, they weren't flattering with compliments.
Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. How long ago was this? I am so curious.
This was before you.
Well, obviously.
After my just before COVID relationship ended.
Okay. So the reason why I asked is because, so if you didn't have someone who advocated for me and then like someone else had seen, like, what if someone had said no to me? Because I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Well, like, I'm dark-skinned Black women. We catch the raw end of the deal. Like, we really do.
I'm going to say it publicly. People always said that I had a type.
I ain't that type.
And Michelle isn't the type that I would describe, or other people would say, yeah, that's what King, like, that's who King typically goes after.
Yeah.
But no, so that to answer your question, no, because I had to learn that I shouldn't care about what other people say. If I rock with you, then I rock with you. But I was still learning some things. After my divorce, I was in a bad place. Anybody that I got with from 2019
to August 2022
to 2022, I have to apologize to you. Well, with the exception of one person that when I really kind of got into understanding who I was, the therapy to get my mind right and everything, there was one person that I still was like, they wanted more. I did not want more, but I communicated that. Like, I didn't lead on. I didn't say anything to try to keep her around. I was like, look, this is what you're getting from me. If you're okay with that, then we can continue with what this is, which wasn't, it was less than a relationship, but more than a situationship. What fault? Wait, how do you define that?
That's still a situationship.
Okay, well then we had an ongoing situationship. But I was my best self in saying that. And she chose to accept that for as long as it suited her. And then that stopped because you said the words, is there anybody that would feel some type of way knowing that you have a lady in your life? Should we pursue a relationship? And I'm like, yeah, there's one, because I told her I didn't want a relationship. So to then have to tell her, hey, I'm about to get in one, that was an interesting conversation.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. I have never had a friend or family member talk me out of a relationship. My mom, I will be honest, sometimes how she reacts to men, I may respond to a relationship based on how like she reacts. That sounds so horrible. But for the last guy I dated, she wasn't enthusiastic about him, right? The guy before him, I think my mom was like okay with. There was something about him that she didn't like, but that's a personal thing that I'm not going to say here. Like I could tell you offline, but it's a personal thing I'm not going to share here in respect for him. And then for you, my mom just has one comment about you.
What'd she say? I'm curious.
She said we should get married. Like that's the one comment my mom has.
Based on what?
Based on who we are as people and how we make each other feel. Like that's her one comment. And then when I tell her that, you know, she one of the biggest reasons why I'm afraid of marriage, she says her response is that I can't live in fear for that. So I would say you're probably the first guy that she's pro.
Okay. That's interesting. The only time that I went to my parents about something was before I married my ex-wife. And I called my dad. I actually called my dad on the way up to go talk to her and her parents, because that's the type of person I am. I wouldn't go to your parents.
As you shouldn't.
And there is no anyway.
I don't know if the mic picked that up, but
but my dad was the only one. And in high school, my mom actually there was a young lady who she told me explicitly to avoid. And it's the only time my mom has ever said anything about anybody who I was with or anything. She said, you should not date this person. I don't want her in my house. Just like that. And I was rebellious, and I was like, we ain't got to go to, she ain't got to come over here. Yeah. So my mom, she sometimes shows up as CC Smith in the chat. Shout out to her, because she did do me a solid with that one. But that's the only time that I've ever talked to my parents about anybody. When they met you or they saw you or whatnot, they saw everything online first because
distance
and everything. And then you met my mom when she came here
in July,
for Castle's birthday, and she watches our live streams and stuff. And it kind of had that feeling. She felt like she knew you because of social media and everything.
Yeah.
And then you met my dad on your own.
On my own.
After that. And I ain't gonna say I was nervous, but I had curious energy to know how that would go. But like, I know you and I know him. So I'm like, if anything, y'all can talk all day, I think.
I'm a teacher. I know how to handle my own. What?
But I was kind of curious how that would go. But like, both of my parents do like you and everything like that. So
which one of them is saying that we should get married? Because I know
none of them have mentioned
really.
None of them have mentioned it to me.
Good stuff.
No, not to me. I think Miss Mary has.
Step
but yeah.
I'm curious if my dad will watch this episode, because I know sometimes he watches episodes. So, Dad, if you're watching, like, marriage terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies me.
Didn't we announce how many times we said hi? Because I think Jay commented and he was like, "Wait, how many times?"
Well, we had talked about probably one of the last lives that we had, that your mom has a friend who set the record for us.
That's what it was.
Yeah. It's not a PR, but it's still a PR. So our show's PR is six marriages. So
you use PR. That is hilarious.
Look, my track students keep coming in and they talk about Ms. Early, I PR'd. And I'm like, what the heck is, and then like each time there has to be like personal record. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's good. That's PR. Good. Let's see. I'm going to highlight some comments here. Blake said, one lesson I had to learn is that emotional security is definitely one of the best things to give your woman. Don't play with her or play about her. Blaze, if I could zoom in on me, I would.
Camera zoom in.
That's a whole bar, man. And I hate to admit that it took me to be 35 years on this earth to really understand the power and impact of that statement. Right? And I'd like to think that when I was younger, I was the best husband I could have been. Mm-hmm. I wasn't. There were things that I had to learn. I learned it. And I'm applying it, right? I tell Michelle all the time, if there's something that I'm not doing, communicate it with me. And if she ever feels as there that I'm either not hearing her or that I can't give her what she's asking for, she can beat feet.
All right. So speaking of that, here's the question. Have you ever regretted not communicating your needs or feelings effectively in a relationship?
Yes, absolutely. You talk about trauma and bringing things from past relationships.
Listen up, y'all. This is the part where he's about to tell us about the trauma. Go ahead.
I say all the time, I will say one of my biggest regrets in my marriage is that I waited to say things. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I did it was because I felt as though I was keeping the peace. I felt as though by not saying something because it was small or whatever, that it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. Or, and y'all fellas know exactly what I mean when I say this, I'll bring up something, but then instead of that something being addressed, now it's got to be, well, when you blah, 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 it's like, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about this. We're communicating this thing. So it got to where I would stop saying stuff because I was guilty of always saying, I know how this conversation is going to go. And what I meant by that is I don't know every word that you're going to say to me, but what I do know is that we're not going to address the thing that's on my mind because something's going to get thrown back in my face. So I would always go, what's the point? Now, I don't do that. What I still need to get better about is saying something, I'm telling you this. I sometimes don't know how to say the thing that's on my mind in that moment. I don't know how to say it. What I need to be better about doing is telling you, I got something that's on my mind that I don't like. I don't know how to say it right now. I need you to be aware of it. And when I figure it out, I would like to address it with you.
And see, that was something you and I had spoken about several months ago, or maybe even last year, or maybe even back at the beginning. I don't know. But we talked about the fact that we can't just pull up on a conversation later that happened like hours, days ago, or something like that. That we had made a vow to each other that we were going to at least, well, because you had made the comment to me.
Got it.
That we were going to at least say, I need to say something, but I don't know how to say it. Because that, at least, it's kind of like putting a pin in something, making the acknowledgement that we need to come back to it later. And that goes a long way. Because for me, I don't when I finally do let something go, I let it go and I try not to bring it back up. And like that was the whole crux of the communication glitch that we had 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago now. The fact that you had brought up something that I had already laid to rest. And one thing I'm actively doing in this relationship is trying not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to let a situation stay in the time and in the season where it happened and not be bringing it back up later, because I don't feel like that's fair to you. In previous relationships, I don't feel like I communicated my feelings enough because I don't think people listened. Like my last relationship, I don't think he listened. I don't think he listened to understand or listen to make changes. I think the guy before him did listen to make changes and was not able to make the changes the way that I desired them at the time. But the last guy, no, I don't think he listened to make changes. So there came a point where I just stopped saying stuff. Like there was because one thing I don't want to do is waste my breath. I don't want to waste my time saying something if it's not going to get addressed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just go quiet. Like you went quiet because you already knew how the conversation was going to go. I got quiet because I knew the conversation wasn't going to go anywhere. Like it wasn't going to be a thing, or it was just going to be some mid-level way to placate me and just kind of let things go. And maybe if I give you this, you'll think that I am meeting the need that you have here, but in reality, I'm not. That type of thing.
Yep. Now, shout out to Mad57. This is a new name that I see in the chat over on YouTube. Said emotional security. Definitely, I have learned that a woman will appreciate that. Hey, I appreciate you, Matt57. Don't know if you're a subscriber, but if you like this live stream, hey, we'd appreciate the subscribe button hit as we go live every Monday here on YouTube. So I appreciate you pulling up.
And for those of you who are new, the reason why I keep looking like this is because I
you're
wear
blind.
glasses. I prefer the phrase I wear glasses. And I don't have them on, as you can see, and I don't wear contacts. So it's kind of like everything looks a little hazy right now, and I gotta squint in.
So I have some ideas about stuff that'll be quality of life improvements for both of us, and one is having a separate monitor.
Is it because you need glasses too?
Quality of life for both of us is what was said about 15 seconds ago. I have to stop looking at your cleavage.
Stop.
I'm trying.
No, you're not.
Okay, I'm
if
not.
You gotta call attention to it, you're not trying. Let's see. There was one that I had. Yeah, no, we gonna skip that question.
All right. Let me see if there's another comment here while you look that up.
Have you ever let fear of being alone influence your decision in a relationship? I know the answer, but I do want to have this discussion.
Before I had therapy, the answer was yes. I did let fear.
Oh, here's the question. Okay.
But after therapy, I went through a session of monk mode. And this is something that I tell people all the time. It is one of the most freeing things in the world to know that you are good on your own, right? Michelle, I love you.
I love you too, baby.
If you decided that you didn't want this relationship tomorrow,
train's moving that way.
I say deuces. The train's going this
way.
Hopefully it's at a speed enough that you can walk off and not get hurt on your way out.
Stop, drop, and roll.
I love you. I really do. It is my hope and desire that each day that you wake up, that you choose to still love me the way that you do going forward. However,
I'm gonna focus on the words before however.
if you ever change your mind, I good luck.
Ooh, okay.
That's how I feel. And some people interpret that as, ooh, man, that's so non-empathetic. And, I asked somebody, do you really love her if you feel that way? I said, yes, I do.
But I love my sanity more.
But I love me before I love anybody else. And I don't see nothing wrong in that.
That's fine. That is absolutely fine.
You had something that you were about to say.
Yes, I found the question.
What up?
Did I lose it again?
Come on.
Reflecting on past relationships, do you feel there was one where you compromised too much of yourself?
No.
Hmm.
No.
Okay.
That would have been a bad thing if it would have ever happened at any point in my life. I've always been a guy that has always stood on not compromising myself for anybody. And I can say confidently that I've never done that. How about you?
Man, this last relationship is taking a blow. It's taking a real blow. I wouldn't say I compromised too much of myself. I will say I stayed in moments where I knew I should have left.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful for the strength that it took to be able to leave. Like Facebook memories things will pop up. So 2 years ago, like we didn't know each other 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, the memory popped up and it was a picture of me, I think in a movie theater. And I did the math and I was like, oh, I was single. I like whether I was talking to someone or not, whatever, but I was single in that picture and I looked happy because I wasn't in that relationship anymore. And I appreciated that. I appreciated that image and just that reminder that me plus God is the majority. So I want to be with a man. Like, I'm not saying need, I want to be with a man who is going to enrich my life, who is going to make things better, who is not going to be, as you say, an anchor and pull things down. Because while women can be that for men, men can also be that for women.
100.
And I have no desire to be around that. And I never want to compare you to anyone in my past. But when I think about it, you were definitely someone who wants better for me. Like, I love you with everything that is within me. I truly, truly love you. And I appreciate you. And every day I do wake up and I do make that choice that, yeah, I want to be with King. Like, this is the man I love. Let me blow up his phone right now with my sleep number so that he can fuss later. But like, this is the guy that I want to be with. It's a daily choice and one that I do not regret.
So let's stay on that for a bit. You and I met through a mutual friend, right?
Yes.
And we made the decision to position ourselves to be in each other's lives. And I say that because I can think of some of the strategic stuff that you did
First
in
of
the
all, I
past.
don't know what you're talking about. Like,
But
let's go there.
let's call a spade a spade. I saw that. Plus, I saw the value that you brought to the friendship, not even just the relationship, the friendship beforehand. And I saw that and said, yeah, I'm going to keep that around. I could have at any point been like, I think she's a good woman.
The finger wagging.
But I
Never
don't want to
good.
do this.
A finger wag is never good.
And if I would have done that, I think,
You would have missed out on your blessing.
I know I would have um something that people have said to me is that they can see that I've learned some things from this relationship, and I don't deny that. Because I'm not going to say that I came into this relationship knowing everything and having it all figured out. I was at a better point than I was in from 2019 to like 2021 ish, like late 2020, mid 2021. From mid 2021 is when I'd say things clicked and I had a better understanding of just life in general and myself. And by having a better understanding of myself, when we met, I came to you, a person that you saw yourself as like, okay, I see this man. I like this man. I'm going to tell you, in my head, it was like, he don't know it yet, but we going to be together. And I'm going to do what I got to do to make sure that that happens. That's how I see things happening in my head when I just go back and replay.
You joke, but here's the thing though. Any woman in her right mind, and I realize what I said, but it still has to be said. Any woman in her right mind sees you and would be kind word, would be a fool to not want to be with you. Like, I'm trying to pull on kind words because you are an amazing man. Not looking at your career, not looking at you physically. So, like, take away looks, Stevie Wonder it all. Take away looks, take away all of that. Your heart, your personality, the core of who you are, the things that we can't see or quantify, those are amazing traits that any woman would be a fool to not want.
I'm gonna share with you what was commonly said to me that I'm aware of in the chat, and this, like, when I say it, you're gonna be like, "Well, yeah, that's a big one." I had a vasectomy.
You did? Oh my gosh!
So there were some people that were around that when they found that out was like, "Look, I think you're an amazing dude, but I want kids, or I want somebody that had 3 wanted another one." And I'm like, "You're almost 40." I said this to her. "You're almost 40. Why?"
Because I'm a teacher. That's what my students were asking me today. They were like, "Miss Early, you don't want kids?" I'm a teacher. I'm good. And they're like, "But shouldn't you want kids?" And I'm like, no. Because I see what y'all turned into at the high school level. Nah, I'm good. I'm good. Nah, I'm real good. I'm Gucci Mane over here. Like, no, we good.
I'm gonna highlight these
Yeah,
two
'cause
comments here while you figure out
No,
what's
honestly,
next
that was
for
the
us.
end of my question.
Okay, so Blaze over on YouTube said, "I can't say I disagree with that. No one wants or actively supports a good relationship to the end, but in the event that it does, life will still go on. Yes, it'll hurt, but you can and should live." And then Blaze said, "Michelle, don't you read? I'm gonna read it to
Because
you."
I can't, like, it's all fuzzy.
He said, "Michelle, my apologies for what I'm about to say. But this is a rule for relationships and life in general. Middle finger to what they think." Again, I had to learn this the hard way. And Tarika,
I appreciate the apology, but nah, that's true.
True. Yes,
that's true.
It is.
That's
it
true.
Is.
Thank you for the apology, but nah, that's true. That's true.
And I had to learn that too. I had to learn that because I let outside influence affect my decision about a relationship. So, and it shouldn't. Like, I don't care what anybody has to say about this relationship. What matters to me about this relationship is how we treat each other and how selfishly you show up for me. I have to be specific about that though, because
go ahead.
Because how I show up for you matters to you.
Yes.
Right? I do things sometimes because I know you like it.
Like staying up on the phone with me all night. Like, go ahead. Finish your statement. Go ahead.
But that may not be my jam, right? But if it's something that makes you happy, I will make a decision to do stuff because I know it makes you happy, right? And I don't care how I look doing it, So yeah.
Aww. You want to stay up on the phone with me tonight?
No.
What? We just had a whole conversation
about. Nope. I'm hitting you with the Shannon Sharp. Nope.
I don't feel like you took time to think about that before you answered it.
1, 2, 3. Nope.
Your 1, 2, 3 was a lot faster than it normally is, sir.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Nope. Oh, like this.
Because I was just about to say, you want to know something that you've learned in this relationship with me? ASL.
Yep.
I love you.
I love you too. So how are we closing this out?
Okay. So here's the wrap up. To surmise everything that we have discussed thus far, relationships are not easy, but they don't have to be full of regrets. Like, you have to be able to walk into every new relationship. And I'm being very cautious about using the word relationship, because a relationship can be platonic, a relationship can be romantic, it can be familial, it can be your colleagues, but you have to walk into every relationship with what you've learned from the previous relationship and not holding on to the trauma and toxicity that may have come with it. You have to heal. You have to be able to move on. Because when you do that, then you're more likely to spot red flags. You're more likely to make the choices that will lead towards your happiness. And you're more likely to not hurt the person that you're entering into this new relationship with. And again, I mean that across the board. Platonic friendships, romantic relationships, familial relationships, and also your colleagues and stuff like that. Go into each new relationship having been healed from the previous things that happened, good or bad. Because if you had a really amazing relationship, and this is a shout out to those who may be widows or widowers, if you had an amazing marriage to your spouse until the day God called them home, and you don't heal from that, meaning you don't recognize that every single future spouse or future partner is not going to be like that, it's not going to work out. So you need to heal from your past relationships, good or bad. You need to heal from that past relationship before you step into a new one. And then when you do that, I feel like you lessen regrets when you really take time to think about things, think about who you are, think about what you are looking for, how you want to spend the next season of your life. When you're actually able to do that, you will enter into a relationship healthily, and you'll be able to have that real outlook on a healthy relationship, which is something that we try to offer you all here on the King and Me show.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I have nothing to follow that up with. That was a great summary and wrap up, babe. Good job.
Thank you, Bill. It's like I'm a teacher or something.
Look, we are also trying to get to where we can live stream on TikTok and Instagram as well.
TikTok.
We have both of those. We upload our clips and we do stuff that only gets posted to some of those other platforms. So if you're not following the King and Me show on our other platforms, there's a link in the description that has the link to all of our other platforms as well, as we are on the Instagrams, the TikTokies, and the whole nine. So be sure to follow those because we have something coming up here. I'm not going to spoil it because Michelle don't know just yet, but we are going to go live on TikTok separately just to test it out here coming up. So that's something that if you're not following us on TikTok, you won't get that anywhere else. So
I'm just y'all, excuse me. So I am staring at King because King is looking at me like, if there was a way for me to fall in love with Shell more, I think I just did. Like that's what his eyes are saying to me right now.
You really want to know what they were saying?
No, because I know it's not PG.
No, it is PG.
Oh, it is?
I wanted to say thank you for dinner today.
Oh, that's not where I expected you were going to go. But you're welcome, babe.
See, I can be PG. All right, y'all. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you so much. This is, I think, one of our most watched live streams that we've had in a while. So it's really good to see people show up and comment and things as well. At the end of June, we're going to have a call-in show. So be sure to come back each week, but we are going to have a call-in show
I was putting something in
on
the
our last Monday in the month of June. I think
the 24th.
Yep. So people have actually said, hey, man, is there a way to call in, share my story, things like that? One person said that they want to call in and present themselves for people.
Oh la la, like a dating show.
A la the Kendra G show.
Wee.
So I said, we've never done that.
Ooh.
But I'm not against it. I'll tell you offline.
S'il vous plaît. So. Yes. Yes.
All right, y'all. This has been fun. I think you come to me this time.
Oh, I come to you.
Yep. So but there are some comments here. Let me acknowledge the comments before we sign off here. We got.
So while he's pulling up the comments, we end our show the same way every time, except for that one week when I was driving. But we ended the same way every time. Oh, I just got a text.
Let's see. Blaze said to Tarika, yeah, it's best to keep people out of your business, especially when it comes to relationships. Absolutely. Mad57 said to Blaze, they almost never have your best interest at heart.
They have their interest at heart. There you go.
And then Blaze said, exactly. And Paul pulled up right when we were about to sign off and said greetings. Hey, Paul, thank you for tuning in. We are just at the end of our live stream today. If you would still hit that like button, we would definitely appreciate it.
Yes,
and
please. You ready?
Pull up for us next week. So we have our topics, but we might change the order. So I won't announce it just yet. Thanks for tuning in to the King and Me show. We are out.
Mwah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.